Doe Dubes, clap it up for Doe Dubes in the building, man. Yeah, President Doe Dubes.
Yes.
So yeah, we're gonna get started. Let me introduce some people.
Can you give me like 2 minutes?
Yes. I'll talk about Halima some more. So yeah, the business wasn't profitable. She's like, I just want to help. And she's got, how many .coms do you own? 335,000?
It's on the way there.
Yeah.
Digital real estate.
She's got a lot of digital property. But she's been a part of the Mobile Summit, and it's funny, like somebody pays you to help them, and then every week they're helping you, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is some weird shit, like, you're paying me to help me? So we had to switch that around, and I found money to make sure she gets paid every month to help me out with some personal things, help out with Hotep Nation. So she's been amazing, man. Clap it up for Halima, please. Yeah. Taylor, a lot of people, like I said, I love just being great, being organic, and a lot of times people say shit like, oh, why don't you guys do this, and why don't you guys do that? And one of those individuals was like, hey, why don't you guys cut clips from your show? And I'm like, bitch, why don't you do it? I didn't say it like that.
Didn't say that.
That's how it came off in my mind. And that was Chad, that's how me and Chad got cool. He was like, all right, fine. So he started cutting clips. But a lot of times when you build a business, everybody wants to do everything perfect and they want to get everything done. It's like, no, just build it and people will join your team. And Taylor's one of those people too who watched the show, and we got a really professional videographer / editor / producer / writer / grifty producer / grifty script writer. Like he really made the grifties happen, and we didn't pay him shit, and I thought that was like damn, his services is probably the tens of thousands, and we ain't got that type of money, and
What would it cost to make the grifties for me, but the contractor would have came?
Yeah, 10,000, right? Yeah. And I think it costs us maybe $2 to rent the spot out, and plus me and Unks, Tuxes. Once Taylor gets set up, we're gonna walk through the history of Hotep Nation. We're gonna start with Doe, and then I'm gonna close the show out because I'm Hotep Jesus.
We the openers. Y'all make some noise for Hotep Jesus. Come to the stage. Y'all ready for Hotep Jesus?
I wanted to come in the room late, like, oh, yeah. At the pool party last day.
You gotta do a lap.
You know what I'm saying? He got the grin. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of y'all already know the story, so I'm not gonna bore y'all with all the details, but Black Lives Matter and all that shit had hit this, Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin, all that shit had hit the scene. We started providing solutions, and people started calling us Hoteps, and that's sort of how this thing coalesced into Hotep Nation. But one thing I understood was I had washed my hands with the black community. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It was just too much fucking ignorance. But I knew.
He wrote a blog, and the title was "I'm Tired of Being Black."
I did write that. I totally forgot about that. I did. Damn, I forgot about that.
This is a great article.
I gotta go back and read that.
We just getting put on charges next week.
But I knew we still needed somebody that had, that passion for the black community, just for the brand, somebody who still gave a fuck. And Doe actually still gave a fuck about the black community. And I'm like, good, we need you. It's like you the Malcolm X of this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be, the coon of this shit, or whatever the fuck they calling me out there. But we're gonna introduce President Doe Dubes, and he'll tell you a story, how he got involved with Hotep Nation. Everybody clap your hands for Doe Dubes.
So, I'm not gonna make it too long and drawn out, but Hotep Jesus was right. That's
Feel free to stand up if you want to.
All right, for sure. I will.
Yeah, stand up.
I know that's what that meant. If I wanted to, not stand up. So yeah,
Feel free to walk around too.
I'm gonna work the room, I promise. So, like Hotep Jesus was saying, he's correct. 7 years ago, that's pretty much where I was. I saw somebody who I looked at as a peer, even though he was younger than me, Mike Brown, being killed, and all of that. And just like every young person, you know, seeing these things being bombarded into your timeline, where just 6 months prior, we was all just joking, making hashtags, and, you know, oppression wasn't ever the topic of discussion throughout our day-to-day. And now we have people, you know, at the time I was 24, in our late teens, early 20s, mid-20s, now being faced with a problem that, let's just be honest, has always been in the background of our community, things that have always been going down. And I'm glad that we were able to come together and talk about it. However, the conversations weren't fruitful for me. It was downtrodden, it was victim-based, it was, we're never gonna be able to get out of this. My grandmother went through this, you know, my great-grandmother went through this. It's just more of the same, it's more of the same, problems, problems, problems. And all it did was enrage me even more. And what it does, it breeds contempt for groups that you may not even have a full insight on. And it's very easy to make blanket statements about these groups. So now when you have blanket statements of blanket terms like white supremacy, white privilege, or systemic racism and things of that nature, you don't have to look further into it. That explains it all, it's white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get the job because of white supremacy. I got frisked because of white supremacy. And it doesn't allow you to really get into the nuance or even a solution to that problem. You just now know what that problem is. So during that time, I wanted to know the solutions. That is what the long and short of it was. I wanted to solve the problems that I had. I did not want to be frustrated. I did not want to hate white people. I did not want to think that my life was dictated by the whims or the ideologies of somebody that doesn't know me or even like me. So I wanted to know what I could do. That's something I learned from my grandmother. Actually, you know, a lot of people think that no snitching came from the street, but it actually really came from our culture. You know, we used to get in trouble as kids, and one of the first things that you would do, like, well, I wasn't the only one. You know, such and such was doing it too. And my grandmother would be like, I didn't ask about such and such. You got in trouble. What did you do? And that translated to my life as a young adult. Yes, these things have happened, but what did I do? Did I use my money the way I could have the best? Did I eat the best things? Did I learn the best things? Did I do everything in my power to make sure I, as an individual, was not caught into the fray of all of these problems? And then I started to look more, and then I started to learn about people like Claude Anderson, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, all these people, Fred Hampton, these people who used solutions to their problems as a way out, or as a way to be able to quell whatever issues were going on back home. One of the things that, you know, Hotep Jesus alluded to is that once I found these solutions, I thought, like, that's the narcissism in me, that the whole black community just needed me to learn these solutions and now we good. So all they was doing was just waiting for dope dudes to get knowledgeable, and now all they needed is for it to, you know, be tweeted out so they can understand it from somebody who comes from the community. Because everybody knows I'm not, you know, I don't come from like the best pedigree or whatever. I come from where I come from. So if somebody from the hood is able to now give this information, I thought that's all they needed. Not somebody to preach to them, you know, anything like that. Somebody, you know, I come from where I come from. You know, I don't come from a place where I'm talking down on you. You know, we come from the same oodles and noodles. And this is what I learned. Wealth building, group economics, eating better, self-sufficiency, making sure that you're using your body the way you're supposed to every day. And I did not expect the responses that I got. Get out of here with all of that. We need to, you know, keep pressuring the government to make sure that we get all the stuff that we want. And then I was just blown away that, wow, y'all known all of this stuff. It's not that y'all were waiting for me. There was people 100 years before me that were saying the same exact things. So what it then became is that I became sort of like an enemy or a pariah within the circles that I've been comfortable in my whole life. Because now my direction is different. Now I want to just eat better. Maybe that'll help my mood. Maybe that mood change will allow people to treat me a little bit different. And I just brought it all the way back into me, and that was one of the things that I learned, that it's more about just being accountable for yourself. Knowing that you got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, to make sure that you, like, I know I did what I was supposed to do. And the more and more I kept, researching and sharing this information, the more and more resistance I got. More and more resistance I got. More and more I was called a coon. The more and more I was called a salad. The more and more I was called an Uncle Tom. And then I started, instead of focusing on the people I'm trying to convince, started just focusing on the people that I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, what do you mean by that? So, fast forward a little bit, just a little bit. I'm researching getting into wealth building. And this is how I met Hotep Jesus. I was following him through, I want to say it was from stocks at first. He had posted a ticker. He didn't tweet about the stock or nothing like that. He just put $AMD. Never forget it. It was like 2012, 2013. I'm like, what does that mean? So I clicked it, and of course it's like a hyperlink, so you get to see other tweets that's talking about it. They were just talking about how it's a stock and all of that. That day, I opened up a brokerage account with some like international brokerage in the Bahamas, but I bought AMD that day off of a tweet. I didn't need encyclopedic knowledge on it. I just needed something to just get me into the door, and that's what that tweet was. So I hit him up, I let him know what I did. He said, all right, good. Just stay on top of it and all of that. And I got into it more and more and more. So I'm like, that's a part of my repertoire now. Stocks and things of that nature is definitely something that's going to be in my wheelhouse. And then I started listening to him speak about history and just the state of the world. And I never really looked at it like that. And I started getting to more and more, Afrocentric politics or, figures. You have people like Dr. Claude Anderson, one of my favorites. And the reason why I bring him up a lot is because when I watched his career, his legacy, decades of saying the same things over and over, group economics, that let me know that that's where it is. Like, we need to be able to pool our money together to be able to industrialize our own communities and things of that nature. Malcolm X said the same thing. Marcus Garvey said the same things. And when I started seeing the common theme of all these solutionaries that had that preceded me, I knew what my mission was supposed to be. Every time that I started espousing this information, more and more people, even though I got the resistance, more and more people wanted to know more. I'm like, okay, I'm finding my tribe. I'm finding the people that actually resonate with me. Then I was compelled to write a book, because now I'm done arguing. I'm done arguing with everybody. Let me do the research on every category that I believe is important to build the infrastructure of Black America. So that's what I did. I wrote Black America, Inc., a $1 trillion nation in 2015. That is like one of my proudest moments, because instead of arguing with everybody, instead of trying to go back and forth on Twitter, online, I just laid it out. Facts, figures, numbers, exactly how we'll be able to execute all of these things, just paying homage to people like Dr. Claude Anderson, Booker T. Washington, et cetera, because we've had Black men and women create entire municipalities, fresh off of slavery. There's no reason why somebody who's 31 years old in the 21st century with the ability to make millions of dollars from a device in his pocket can't supersede what his ancestors did. So that's me. Like, that's how I became Hotep, or that's how I found Hotep, is just wanting solutions. And nobody ever made me feel crazy or weird for wanting to make my own life better and not compel somebody else to make my life better. So as I got more and more in tune with Hotep, started contributing to the website. We had a president before me, President T-Cat, shout out to him. And I really started to fall in love with Hotep. Hotep started to really become like just how I breathed everyone. I said Hotep when I woke up. I started doing all of these things that I never did before. Like I'm growing a garden. I'm actually going in the garden and meditating. I'm actually understanding why pill bugs are important for your garden. roly-polies is, what we call them. But they actually eat the dead leaves off of your plants during the nighttime. They're nocturnal insects. These things I would have never known if I didn't start to be more self-sufficient and grow my own food. I haven't taken like any over-the-counter drugs. My wife and I have an entire just shelf of just herbs and different things that we use that come out of the ground that work with our body way better than, synthetic drugs. These things help us, going plant-based. Even being tempted today with the chicken. Good. But, being plant-based for the past, 7 years and all of that, like, that entire era changed my life. And I owe a great deal to, Hotep, and then now to see, DMs and conversations and stuff about the future. Hotep Jesus, he may or may not, he's a secretive person. He might tell you about the 10-year plan that he had detailed. I mean, this was detailed in the 10-year plan almost 10 years ago. We watch people have conferences and come together and things of that nature, and we always believed that we had the power to make that happen. And to see this today, so many different people coming from so many different parts of the world. We got South Korea in the building. That's amazing.
Shout out to South Korea.
You know what I mean? So to have like I was saying at breakfast, to come from computer mics on a podcast to now having live viewership where people will not miss Hotep's Been Told You. Canada in the building. You know what I'm saying? So that's amazing, and I'm extremely proud to be your president. I hope you're proud to have me as your president. And one of the things that really touched me, pause, over this weekend, over the weekend was not only was I able to observe the way you guys interact with each other, but I got to, get to know you guys on the individual level throughout the weekend. Being able to hear about your backgrounds, being able to hear about your pedigrees, your values, your morals, your beliefs, your goals, your skills. All of these things are very important to Hotep Nation. Everybody brings their own set of ambitions, skills, and things that they can actually help build a nation. We are literally, as we speak, nation building. And I want you guys to be proud of that fact. Hotep Nation is not some fringe internet group. We really came together. We really are, let's just call it what it is. We are a family. And nobody should, feel weird about that. The fact that we're able to look past so many of the differences that we obviously have and come together on those similarities means a lot to me. But like I was saying, being able to observe you guys and then be able to talk to you guys about all of the things that you got going on, it just made me feel way more in tune with my people, as opposed to being one of those presidents who don't know anything about his constituency and just hands down orders and things of that nature. I actually know what you guys do and do not like. So when it comes down to making decisions on the behalf of my nation, I understand. We got mothers and fathers in here. We have people who are very keen on the things that they eat, very keen on the type of environments they like to live in, very keen on the type of people they like to deal with, ideologies that they will and will not accept, and things of that nature that I always want to keep in the back of my mind when I am making decisions with the executive branch of Hotep. So this is me letting you guys know that I'm always going to be diligently, relentlessly working on your behalf, making sure that Hotep Nation gets to the place that it needs to be, working alongside Uncle Hotep, Hotep Jesus, Brother MG, to make sure that we are making the best decisions on your behalf. Always, always feel free to contact me if you have any questions about the nation. And I'm here to serve y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is way more than I could ever ask for. Giving me the floor and all of that other stuff. I'm pretty sure y'all seen me sometimes over the weekend just chilling in the cut, because that's what I'm used to. So, getting this red carpet treatment is amazing. I appreciate it. Keep it coming.
After 17 hours.
Yeah, that 17-hour layover will not be forgotten. Raising taxes. Raising taxes for that. The layover tax. But I really do appreciate, just all of the amenities that were bestowed upon me this weekend. I will not forget it for the rest of my life. And I won't have to, because we're going to do it again and again and again and again. We are a nation. We are Hotep. Be proud in that fact. right? Don't let anybody or outside, entities let you, make you feel like you're weird for resonating with people that you may have never met in your life. You are Hotep. Accept it. Love it. Embrace it. All right?
Dope dudes, y'all. Next up, we're gonna have co-founder, godfather of Hotep Nation. I need everybody to make extra loud noise for Mr. Griff Lord, Mr. Coontastic, Kim Jong-Koon, Uncle Hotep, y'all.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep it short. I know Doug was gonna talk forever, so he ate some of my time. But I just wanted to say a couple things. Thanks,
Guys, which times you need, sir?
Thank you. No, thanks everybody for coming in. It's just really touching, and I think it's a great story we got here. Hotep. One of the things that Hotep means to me is like, not letting anything stop you. Sometimes you got to make some hard decisions and some hard things in your life. One thing I just kept thinking about earlier today, it was, a lot of people are going to have to make some hard decisions about some stuff that's going on today about, the stupid 19 and, the government and everybody trying to put some stuff in your body that some people aren't comfortable with, and I just remember my dad, he grew up in North Carolina back in the day, he's old head, I'm old, so he was considerably older than me. He passed away a few years ago. But, he went to Vietnam, and, Vietnam served his country and he came back home. He came back home to North Carolina, being a black man in North Carolina back in them days, there was no jobs for men like him. So this is a man that went over, we can talk about the merits of the Vietnam War, but, he went and served his fellow soldiers in the army, watch out over them, quote unquote, served his country. But when he comes back home to his country, he couldn't get a job down there, So, he did the Hotep thing. He packed his bags and moved to Pennsylvania. It was somewhat, I'm not going to say, there wasn't any racism in Pennsylvania, but it was easier for him to get employment in Pennsylvania. But you just have to think about that. He packed up all his belongings, left his hometown, and never looked back. And sometimes we have to do hard things, I don't know how that may tie into today, but sometimes you might have to, I don't know, I'm gonna pick up and move to Texas. I'm gonna pick up to move to Florida. I'm gonna pick up and move somewhere where it's, the oppressive fascism isn't so tough. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're running away from a problem, or maybe sometimes you got to deal with it. I remember, I grew up in Exton, Pennsylvania. I know a lot of people know that. My mother was an alcoholic. My dad was, he was a lot of domestic violence and stuff like that. I didn't have the greatest mentally healthy childhood, I guess. We weren't poor or anything, but I got by in school. I went to college and flunked out, and I had to make a decision. I had to do something, so I went in the Air Force, and the Air Force isn't the toughest, military division or whatever, force or whatever, but, it was good enough for me to help teach me some self-discipline, and that's what I needed in life. Sometimes you got to do what you need in life, and that was what I needed in life, and when I first started, interacting with Hotep Jesus and stuff, some of the stuff I was seeing out there, it was a little tiresome about how, the black liberals was just trying to make it seem like we can't do anything about ourselves. It's all the white supremacy's fault, the evil white conservatives' fault. It was all everybody's fault except ourselves. Sometimes we got to take matters into our own hands, And that's what I think, with Hotep, you have to take matters, no matter what race you are, you got to take matters in your own hands sometimes. You can do it yourself. There's going to be obstacles in life, One of the things I always said about, Hotep, we acknowledge there's a mountain there for some of us to get over. Some people are just going to stand and look at the mountain, and some people are going to climb over it. Some people are going to try to dig through it. Some people are going to try to find a way around it, But, you got to do something with your life, and that's what Hotep represents to me. Finding a way, Everybody has hard, no matter what race, creed, or anything. Nobody's life is perfect. Nobody's life is easy. You're going to have obstacles in life. You're going to have hard times in life. It's how you deal with it. And that's all I got.
Uncle Hotep, ladies and gentlemen. So we do have a founding team, and one of the people that was a part of that original crew of Hotep Nation. He's not a huge voice on social media, but he's been tremendous help behind the scenes and helping lead and guide. And the reason why Jason Whitlock even messes with us is because of this guy right here, MG. When we first started Hotep Nation, we had a blog and we were publishing op-eds, so on and so forth. And he published an op-ed, and then Jason Whitlock hit me up, followed me immediately, and was like, yo, who wrote this? So I tagged him, and Jason Whitlock followed him too. But I don't remember what piece that was, but I need y'all to put your hands together for a microphone.
What's up? Good afternoon, everybody. So like you said, so I'm a behind the scenes type of person. That's just how I'm built. For me to give my full, these days, loving, genuine effort, energy, all that, I don't really have it to be in front of the camera type of person, always involved with social media. I read it, I pay attention to everything, but that's just how I'm built. What Hotep means to me, it's the bloodline, to be honest. Especially as a man and all the masculinity stuff that we talk about. As a man, you can't be in the passenger seat of life. I relate things to what I know, sports and cars and all that. You can't be in the passenger seat, and you certainly can't be in the back seat. Now, I was given enough in my life to know that I was supposed to be in the driver's seat, but I was missing the other half. And the other half is the roadmap, the GPS. Where are we going? How are we getting there? Are you just speeding at 100 miles an hour because you think that's the best way to do it? Are you navigating correctly? Are you doing it efficiently? And that's what Hotep gave me. They gave me the GPS to understand this is how it's supposed to be done while you are driving. And that gave me a laser focus that I absolutely needed. I came on, I think around the same time as Doe Dubes. What really hit me was when Hotep Jesus was talking about, he was getting shit on by everybody for promoting. I think somebody had said, one of these big talking heads had said something about, it sounded like they were getting paid for it, but it said something about, hey, Dove Soap, something or other. And Hotep Jesus hopped on and said, hey, by the way, there's a bunch of black-owned businesses selling soap. Y'all can get on that too. And he got attacked for that. And I was like, wait, what team are we on here? And that's what got me thinking, something's off here. Then I started following and listening, and he kind of broke down the whole Sandra Bland situation. If you guys remember that, the black woman who, she went to prison and ended up, passing away over the weekend. And the more I started paying attention, the more I started saying, the mainstream is not really giving us the truth. You have to look deeper, you have to dig deeper. And everything I started following and reading about, I became a living testament to. Because I'll be honest, I was half-assing it at first. I was agreeing with things, was making it look good. And then behind the scenes, which is why I disappeared a little bit even more, my life fell apart. I was engaged, I had the life. I had a house I had just bought in Virginia, good job, engaged, kids, living the dream. It all fell apart because of some mistakes that I made. The engagement fell apart, family structure that, we all know is so important, split. That sucked. The job went away. Now I'm broke, trying to scrap it together every single month. Some of the times the only people I had to reach out to was the Hoteps. And I would watch them. I would watch the book Doe wrote. I would watch the success Hotep is having. I would watch Uncle Hotep building his following, building his brand. And that was just keeping me going. And I had to really strip it all down to nothing and say, it's time to put these principles in a real way to work. And not just represent it, but from the second you wake up, like Doe said, you wake up, it's Hotep. I had to start putting these principles to work from the second I was awake all day, infused and, together in every part of life that I was doing. Not just working hard, but working smart, Gotta eat better, because that controls, your gut controls your mind. We know all this stuff now. It sounds crazy if you don't know it, but the food you eat, your gut, the chemicals, the bacteria, goes right to your brain process, It all ties together. So little by little, and in the same path, I became very spiritual. That's a big part of Hotep. I think as men, we can overstep that sometimes. We can overstep those, those higher energies, and just, we're Earth. Men are Earth. That's what we do. But you got to incorporate all the other stuff too. I became very spiritual. Putting that into everything that I did. I enrolled back in school, just busting my ass. I was working 2, 3, 4 jobs, incomes, I was killing myself. I remember one time I got sick for like 3.5 days because my body was just dead, tired. My body was like, stop. But if I stopped, it would all fell apart. That's how much of a hole I had dug myself. But one by one, got a little bit better job, hustled over here, got back in school, a little bit forms of income. I started writing. I wrote a book, a children's book, and never got off. Illustrator issues, not my problem, but it never got off the ground. But I wrote it. The sense of accomplishment feels great. Graduated. Now I have a job in IT. I'm the head of the IT department at a hospital. Bless my management for giving me the exemption and allowing me to still be there and not have to, go through other certain stuff that I was not going to do. I put all those Hotep principles to work in a real way every single day. And I dug out of the biggest hole that I was ever in. And right now I'm sitting in Las Vegas, with a bunch of beautiful people in a beautiful situation that even a few years ago, even if you told me it was, situation where I didn't have to come out of pocket, I still wouldn't have been able to come. Because my life was that busy where if I took 12 hours off, it was gonna fall apart, and now, I'm so thankful, I'm so blessed, and it's all Hotep principles. And it's not just talk, it's not just retweets, and I think we're all here because we all know that, and that's beautiful. And I kind of relate it to the way Bob Marley came on to America at first. And it's just something that made him sad that wasn't really well known about him. He was doing tours all over the world, and he looked out into the crowd and he saw mostly white people everywhere. And he's like, fine, but where my people at? And that's kind of what Hotep is like. And that's how we feel sometimes. Like, we teaching the good. Like, this is the good from the gut. Why does it not resonate? And Bob Marley didn't actually start resonating with, our people until he got opening acts for the Bee Gees, people who were already popular in Black America. And that's how he became popular in Black America, is they had to force feed it through other Black groups. Now, Hotep, we're not really like that. You're not gonna force feed us through nobody, at all. Yeah, exactly. But that's what it feels like sometimes. We put the work in, discipline. I know we've all done that. Discipline is one of the biggest things. And that's what people are scared of right there. Discipline and consistency in every part of life, that will get you a lot farther than the knowledge will. HJ always used to say, you have the knowledge, now what? What are we doing with that? Like, all these Black groups, the extremists, the Islamists, and we was this, we was we was them first. Yeah, okay, now what? What do we do with that information? What do we do with that? How does that help us in 2021? How can we apply it? It's about application every day, consistency and discipline. And I think, as we all know, to the average person, that don't sound real good because it's hard work. It's hard work. It's hard work to sometimes skip out on something that would be a lot of fun and joyous. And you could go put the work in. You got to go put the work in instead, because we're thinking long term. And one of the focuses, I think Doe was always wealth. Everybody has their little niche. I'm always focused on the children because they're unprotected out there. Our children are unprotected because our adults are just yapping away, fighting about red, fighting about blue, you're fighting about this guy, this and that, and children have no defense for that because the people that are supposed to be in charge, they're just running their mouth all day. And they're not really looking out for the path that they're supposed to be paving and the tools that you're supposed to be giving them so they don't turn into this. So that's always been my biggest focus. And, behind the scenes, like I said, I've been working. Now I'm in a place where I can start rebuilding and investing in everything. And that's my focus. That's where I'm at. I have a few programs. For me personally, it's in the tech space because that's what I know best, because that's what I'm in. So I got tech programs on the way for our youth. We're going to start getting aligned back up with everything we're doing here. And it's beautiful to see everybody here. And I know, during the podcast, we got hundreds of followers watching everything. So it's just beautiful to see the following to what it's grown into. Like Doe said, you can go back 2000, whatever it was, 13, 14, and this is not just something that happened. This was a manifestation. We used to have weekly calls, all of us getting on the phone, not just hanging out, what y'all been doing, what you want to do. Like, no, there was a direction, there was a voice, there was turns, it's all been organized for a long time. I appreciate everybody that's here, everybody that's put all the work in. Everybody out there, you're the same as us up here. That's what's beautiful about Hotep. There's really no leadership. There's people who have different roles and people who do them well. And everybody here does something well, and that's what's great about Hotep. Love y'all.
Fucking amazing group of fucking individuals, man. Fucking amazing. You guys are fucking inspirational, man. I fucking love these guys, man. They said black men can't work together, they be fighting, and you see us right here. You know what the problem was with the black community, man? Everybody got Michael Jordan syndrome. Everybody want to be Kobe Bryant. Sometimes Unc gotta be Kobe. Sometimes I gotta be Kobe. Sometimes we all knew when it was time for somebody to step up to say, it's my time to shine, and it's my time to be a role player. And I think that's the great part about us is we don't allow the egos to bump heads. As you guys know, I was born Hotep. If you guys follow the content, I was born Hotep. A lot of people ask me, when did you become Hotep? I was born into this shit. My dad got into DeLawrence and a whole bunch of weird fucking esoteric shit in '63. And then when I was raised up off of, my pops would just say like shit to me, like stay on the path and clear your mind and all this like fucking spiritual shit at the time. I believed in, but he was conditioning me to follow my intuition. He always talked about follow your intuition. And I always tell people like, what I do is a product of being in connection with God or whatever the fuck y'all want to call that shit. Whatever it is, that energy that exists and permeates inside and outside of all of us. And I'm tapped into that. Some people say, do you believe in God? I was like, no, I don't believe in God. I know God. To believe is the opportunity to disbelieve. And there is no disbelief for me because if it wasn't for my intuition, I wouldn't have been on Rogan. But I remember my dad handed me a book one day, and it was about AIDS was created by the government or some shit like that. And I'm like 14, so I'm in this shit like, what? The AIDS did who, what? So he would always collect like, back in the day it was these banned books. And so he would go to like the banned bookstore like in Newark and shit. And he'd get these banned books, but he'd have to photocopy them. So we had like photocopies of books. So I was reading up on all this shit and getting like super fucking Alex Jones woke before Alex Jones was even Alex Jones. But my dad was special forces in the military. So he was like fucking James Bond. Like my brother would tell stories about how my dad had a gun that was a pen. You know what I'm saying? And my dad was like, oh, GPS, yeah, we had that in the 60s. We were like, training with GPS. So like a lot of technology people think is new. Like my dad had that shit when he's in the military. So, he was trained by the British Army. You know, I remember one time Jamaicans are very proud people. So one time he was in Great Britain and they were in a mess hall eating. And, you know, obviously it was like segregated, but it was self-segregated. So he said they sat down, and when he got there, you basically have like some guy you go to. So if you have any problems, you know, you talk to that guy and make sure you're cool, because obviously, you know, you're coming from a foreign country. So he was like, yo, my steak is cold. And all the Africans at the table was like, chill, don't say nothing. Like, nah, what the fuck you mean? Like, my steak cold. Like, my mess hall dude told me my steak cold. So my dad got up, and all the Africans was like, oh my God, like, he's really about to challenge these white folks. You know what I'm saying? He like, I'll go fuck my steak cold. So he went, got himself a hot steak. But then they fucking made him switch. They was like, yo, you can't sit next to the Africans, because if they start following your lead, they might start believing in themselves. But that's how my dad was. He was a rebel. So obviously I took a lot from him. He's a real funny guy, amazing guy. He had me around firearms at a young age. I was shooting a Desert Eagle in 96. But he was a super supportive dad. He raised me really hard though. Like, he kicked my ass, like, literally. Anytime I did something wrong, which was almost every day. But I grew up really spoiled, but at the same time rough. And really, like, you know, a lot of people like to give Hotep Jesus credit, and it's just like, nah, you gotta give my dad like all the fucking credit. My mom too, because, you know, she worked really hard. But I was the only child, so I you know, my mom would come home at 9 o'clock at night. So I was like really like a lonely kid, and I was a rebel. And, you know, if everybody sat here, I'd sit here. Like, I never wanted to be with the in crowd. And he went to high school with me, so he'd tell you, I was always a rebel. I was always going against the grain. I never wanted to follow mainstream. If everybody dressed this way, I wanted to dress that way. You know, so I've always been the type of person that just went my own way. So when Hotep Nation kind of presented itself, it was really easy. I felt like I was groomed for this. Like, my dad gave me the knowledge. I had the conspiracy theory shit, so they couldn't pull no, you know, hoodwink on me. Like, my dad went on this one operation, and they're flying over. It's a drug bust, and they're flying over the runway. And the drug guys, and they're supposed to be dropping off a package. They touch and they go, and they're waiting to ambush these guys. So they're, you know, with their guns or whatever. So it does the touch, and they're like, "Yo, did the package drop?" They're like, "Yo, package drop." It's like, all right, cool. Next day, in the newspaper, it was published that they found a bunch of Playboy magazines. But my dad actually saw the contents of that package. It wasn't Playboy. It's Jamaica, so you know it was in the packages. But I had at a young age, I understood that what you see in the media is not true. So when I got older, it was really easy for me to not believe the media. So fast forward, you know, I'm on YouTube being fucking Ali Shakur and super pro-black, and I was a fucking idiot. I'll be honest. I had a lot of knowledge, but I had a lot of vitriol and anger and passion. And then this dude, Handy Mayhem, started following me, and he copped the first Third Eye Jedi. So like, Unc was buying my merch. So I was like, oh, who's this dude that's fucking with me? So I just followed him back, and we got cool. And then I saw this thing about like black conservative. I'm like, what the fuck is a black conservative? I didn't know what a liberal was. I didn't know what a conservative was. I didn't know what a Democrat was. I didn't know what any of these things were. So he introduced me to this whole political shit. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then one day he said, we were in the middle of the Civil War between us and the blacks on the left and the whole feminists. Y'all know that whole story. And then Unc was like, yo, history's repeating itself. And he said, back in the day, there was, you know, I think you said like the 70s or something like that. You said it was like a little bit of a war between them blacks and the Hoteps. And I'm like, oh shit, like this happened before? Like y'all had Hoteps back in the day? So I'm like, because if it happened before, it can happen again, so we can, you know, fix the past mistakes on like where those Hoteps fuck up at. And so we formed up. First, it started out as trolling. It was Hotep Lives Matter instead of Black Lives Matter. And then we started realizing this thing started taking off, so we took it more serious, and it transitioned into Hotep Nation. And then Doe, and then MG came along, and Doe was young firecracker, sponge. He kept coming and asking questions and wanting to learn and, reading. And then he published his first book. And for me, that was just a huge accomplishment for me. It's like to help somebody come up and then, be from the hood and then be an author. Like, it's fucking unheard of. That's some shit you hear about on MSNBC, but they won't talk about it because he's Hotep. Huge accomplishment for Mr. A.R. Morton. And then, of course, MG, he wrote that blog, got, Whitlock to follow us, and that was just fucking amazing. And, things like that just started co-signing what we were doing. And I'm like, oh, like, we really actually have something here. And, it's just Hotep and build, little by little. And then pieces started coming along. So I was an ignorant fuck when it came to politics. And then one day this white dude was like, yo, you ever checked out Anarchy? I'm like, yo, here these crackers go with this fucking Anarchy shit, man. The fuck? He like, yo, check this out. And then he passed me this book called Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard. So I'm like, all right, let me read this shit. And I'm like, oh, this the shit I be talking about. It's Chad Lemoyne. Clap it up for Chad Lemoyne. So I went down the whole Mises rabbit hole, the whole libertarian rabbit hole, and Chad's telling me, no, you're a libertarian. He told me for like 2 years you're libertarian. I'm like, no, libertarians are just people that are scared to call themselves conservative. He's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. Well, I still think that is it. But but he said you lean more libertarian, and he's right. He's absolutely right. I'm definitely more libertarian. So I learned a lot from Chad. He's a fucking geek. I'm a geek. I grew up, I've always been a geek and a nerd. I just intellectualized swag and kind of embodied it. But, Chad contributed greatly to my knowledge bank. Like, I'm a reader. I just read a lot. I was a young kid. Like I said, I was the only child. All I had to do was read and play with computers and shit like that. So when he passed me the materials, there's nothing for me to read that shit. So I studied up, and he turned me into a beast. I'm telling you right now, like, he opened up a whole fucking Pandora's box, because when I started going down the Rothbard and the Mises and obviously, we already had, learned about soul and all that shit. So then, Chad came along, and that was dope. And then Halima came along, and that was super dope. And of course, we got Trish that's been like supporting us like for fucking ever. Like, Trish following us was like a big cosign from him. Like, oh, a white woman and like follows us. Holy shit. At first, I thought she was a Mexican because of her Avi. I was like, yo, she's white. I think it was like our first Zoom call. I'm like, oh, you're white. You're not a little Mexican lady. She's like, oh, this is fucking cool, man. Like, we got like white people, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the malls grew out later. But, something I study, I'm a student of history, and I was studying all the past black movements, and I'm like, all right, MLK died because he's a fucking idiot and manipulated. He didn't get wise till his older years. X, well, he got shot because, well, he's a fucking idiot. Don't put this on YouTube, please. This part. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I feel like he was just a really naive individual, believing some of the shit that he was believing. Everybody he ran across, he was fucking believed, but he had an amazing amount of swag and charisma. I don't think I would have been a pull off, because the way he was organizing, like, they would send him out someplace, like, yo, start up a mosque here. In like 3 months, the mosque will be popping. And I'm just like, damn, like, how much swag you had to do that without the internet back then. So Malcolm was a great leader, but at the end of that book, I noticed he still wanted an all-black movement. And, so when we called ourselves Hotep, the Puritans, like the Moors and the Hebrew Israelites, they're very, like, anti-white to a certain extent. And when they saw us, like, y'all fake Hoteps, y'all got white people next to y'all, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, that's the secret to fucking success, you idiot. It's like, and there's two things that differentiate us from all the other, quote unquote Hotep groups. One, fucking focus on getting your chicken, man. Get your money up. We had so many poor righteous teachers. Rosa Parks was buried by a Jewish man. Dr. Ben, was poor when he died. Dr. Clark died blind, poor. You know, all these people that we study from and build our nation off of died poor. So I'm like, you know, one thing we gonna do as a group is we're gonna make sure nobody's poor. And we used to say shit like, what we gonna do for the black community? I'm like, don't you got issues? Don't you got personal issues? You know what I mean? No, we're gonna fix your personal issues before we even worry about the rest of the world, because we can't help nobody if we can't help ourselves. So we spent like the first year just making sure, motherfucker, like he said, like it's like even if we paid for it, he said he couldn't come because it's like, nah, like get your life right. Like MG used to hit me like, yo, I know I ain't been around, da da da. I'm like, yo, bro, we got this. You gotta focus on yourself first. Don't worry about Hotep Nation. Halima came to me, yo, I wanna help out. Bro. Don't worry, Hotep Nation is good. Like me and Uncle Hotep got shit on our back, we good. You know, but we care about the individuals that's a part of this project. And, you know, we really feel like they gotta, like the individuals themselves gotta be well off. So that they can give their 100%. I don't want 25% of Hotep. I'd rather you get your life right and then come back when you could be 100%. But your spot good. It's not like we like, yo, you ain't been around, so you can't come back. No, that shit's corny, you know? You know, so that's one thing we focused on. We focused on the money. And, you know, Dubes wrote an economics book. I wrote a business book. And we really started, you know, disseminating that information and empowering people. And another thing was white people. You know, I looked at all the other movements and I'm like, what's the difference between them and us? It's like, oh, you ain't got no white people in your group. That's what, you know, marketing is about uniqueness. What are you going to do to differentiate yourself from the competition and the rest of the market? And when we I remember we having a meeting about should we let white people in? And a couple meetings, yeah. And we were nervous and we didn't know. And Unc like, man, y'all niggas are shook, man. It's cool. Do that shit. Shout out ABL, yeah. But he was right though. Like, yeah. He like, nah, he wasn't with no anti-white shit. And I was like, you know, I was on the edge. I was still trying to figure out, like, you know, can we do that? Is that allowed? He wasn't with it at all, yeah. And we had a meetings and we sold the idea to the rest of the guys, like, nah, it's gonna work out, it's cool, da da da. One thing that helped me resolve that was, you know, a lot of people come to me and say, hey, you guys gonna be infiltrated, you know, and all that other shit. And I'm like, well, again, let's look back in history. Who the fuck was infiltrating black groups? Another nigga. So having an all-black group ain't safe. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you know, if you're gonna be infiltrated by your own people, you know, you might as well just add, you know, some white people so the black moles that come in stick out even more, you know. But yeah, you know, that was a huge part, man, saying like, look, money and white people. Yeah. Clap it up for yourselves. A pro-black movement with white folks. Like, it's just like a weird concept to a lot of people. And I remember like black folks would come to us and be like, yo, you got these white folks following you, da 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 da. They don't know what this shit's about. And I would say, hey y'all, hey white folks, what does Hotep mean? And they'd list the principles in their own, and it all came back to the whole thing. Like, they wanted self-empowerment for black people. So they shut the black people up. They're like, damn, these niggas ain't cool. And these white folks really know they're building a black movement for black people. What the fuck is going on here? Right. You know, so, you know, that was a big leap for me personally. It was a big leap for us as a company. But Scott Adams said that the biggest untapped resource for black people is white people. This is what Scott Adams said, the creator of Dilbert. And he's absolutely right. Like, if this is a white dominated society, there's a lot of white people that grew up on hip hop. Like, he recite, you know, some NWA. Like, what are you going to say? Oh, you're white, you can't help us out? It's like, that's kind of like ignorance, a lot of people. So, you know, as we matured as a group, I realized that I was trying to connect with people in the Ali Shakur days based upon skin color. So it was like, if you was black, you was good. And I was like, nah, that's terrible, because we started surrounding ourselves with some really fucking backstabbing ass people just off of fucking skin color, you know? So I said, let's change this to a mindset thing, and let me put my mind out there, and whatever color, whatever country you come from, if you down, you got this mindset. And then we started building a group of people based upon a mindset, and then the group became stronger. And so here we are. Thaddeus Russell popped up, and we had an interview together, and the dude asked him what does Hotep Nation mean, and Thad was like, "Can I answer the question?" And I was like, "I don't know if this white man's gonna be able to answer it," but he follows a brand, and I was like, "What is it?" And he started like going through his brain, and he distilled it down to 2 words: self-mastery. And I'm like, oh my God, he fucking gets it, yo. He fucking gets it. Because obviously Hotep means peace, satisfaction, to be at rest, or tomb, and a whole bunch of other definitions. Yeah, but Hotep Nation, that's really what it's about, is, mastering yourself, having that discipline, so that was super big, seeing other people repeat that back. Hold on, I got 2 more points and then I'm gonna wrap up. One thing I didn't like that I saw with a lot of the grifters, especially like the blue check, high power grifters, I'm not gonna say no names, y'all know who they are, but I noticed that they wanted underlings or, people dependent upon them. And I used to hate, he'd tell you, I was always the leader in my group, and I hated people that were dependent upon me. So at a fault, sometimes I'd be mean to people because I didn't want them. Sometimes I do it to Chad too. Like, I don't want you to depend on me. Like, yo, fucking, like, you could swim. Like, I just hated dependency. So I wanted to build something where people were self-sufficient, and Uncle Hotep could have a brand and eat off the Hotep whatever and eat, and then he could eat and he could eat. And it doesn't have to be like, hey, I helped start that, where's my 10%? Nah, like, I wanted everybody to be self-sufficient, because if Unc becomes a millionaire before me, well, I can ask that nigga for some money, you know what I'm saying? But Jay-Z said nobody will fall because everyone will be each other's crutches. How Jaden Smith put it, he said, one person hops on your light and that lights up, and then the next person can hop on that light, and then we all kind of help each other up, so when one person's up, you can pull me up. Now I'm up above you, then I pull you up, and it's that type of thing, man. So, I wanted to build something that, didn't have dependency, and everybody could be good on their own. Next point I want to talk about is spirituality, because it's a huge thing for me. I'm not as deep into it as I used to be. I used to be way more into it intellectually, until I ran a piece across in my studies. It said spirituality is for old folks. And it's very true, because as a youngin', you get caught up in the moon cycles and the crystals and the astrology and all this other shit. But it's like, you work at Olive Garden. It's like, yeah, okay, them crystals are really working, but you can get sidetracked. Even in the conspiracy theory world, you're so busy worrying about what's going on in Afghanistan that you don't know what's going on in your own house, So it's like, fix that type of stuff first. But spirituality, like I said, my dad was very much into esoteric information. So he ran across DeLawrence and a lot of like occult information. So I was raised in the occult. And then my father actually, he used to tell me as a child, you're not ready. And then around the age 30, 32 or something like that, he imparted and showed me where the information is. And I got really deep into it. And that spiritual awakening is how I actually was able to release my hatred for white people, because I realized it was something internal within me that was actually burning me, and it wasn't hurting nobody else. So I cleaned up my own self and my own spirit, and understood that we're all soulmates. All is one, as above, so below. So you am I, and I am you. You know what I'm saying? You're just experiencing life from over there, and I'm experiencing life from over here. But once we interact, we can share and find that whole that we create together. But spirituality is a big part, I believe. Metaphysics should be a big part. Shaka Akmos doesn't like the word metaphysics because it's Greek and, whatever the fuck his issue is. But I believe heavily in metaphysics, and understanding that this physical world is a compilation electromagnetic frequencies. In fact, out of the electromagnetic frequency, the electromagnetic spectrum, me visualizing right now is a very small sliver called UV light in the electromagnetic spectrum, right? And it's a very, very small part of the full electromagnetic spectrum. So what that tells me is that I'm seeing you guys in this one tiny piece of wavelength. That means that beings and entities could exist in all the other electromagnetic, not saying I believe they do, I'm just saying physically somebody could be right here and I can't see them because they're outside of that electromagnetic frequency. So the world is divided up into electricity and magnetism. Magnetism is the ruler of space. Is the ruler of matter, and electricity is ruler of space. But electricity and magnetism work together, and that's how our world is kind of coming together. And China has figured that out with their maglev technology, and they're running those trains that run super fast. And that's the problem. Humans have taken science and spirituality and split them apart. Religion and spirituality, religion and science, and split them apart. But really, they're a marriage and they belong together. So I really encourage everybody to study science, study the body, study some of the things we're talking about, and understand that you are I don't know what the word is. It's really hard to describe it. I hate to say you are a God because sometimes that gets misconstrued. And I hate to say soul because you're not a soul, but you are not whatever the fuck you think you are. Like, your physical body is just a vehicle, and who you are transcends space and time. I've had flashes of Hotep Nation being on planes together. We weren't on a plane together yet, but here we are, right? So we see these visions and so on and so forth. And, I just want everybody to tap into that, and I think the first part is understanding that it exists, but I want everybody to tap into their spirit and come out of your mind. I always talk about this thing called no mind. You got to come out of your mind. People say you're out of mind. Yeah, I am out of my mind. Don't think. Practice not thinking. Practice, in order to not think, you got to focus on your five senses. Touch, taste, da-da-da. So if you really want to not think, I always say the greatest hack is a teaspoon of honey, and then meditate, because the honey taste is going to focus on how far you can hear. You sit down and you meditate, see how far you can hear. Can I hear the highway, and then beyond the highway? And these things help clear your mind. And once you clear your mind, it allows an influx of God influence to come in, and you get a lot of inspirational thoughts to happen. It works really good when you're high. I'm gonna finish this off with some honorary mentions. Shout out to Cannon Hotep. Clap it up for Cannon Hotep. Cannon, I love having Cannon. Like, when he first posted guns, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna need him on the team. Who is this guy? I like this guy, Cannon, okay. And then he named himself Cannon Hotep. And I remember he put his first video out, and the second video, I'm like, I always watch people before I get involved. I want to see, is there some level of consistency? Because I've seen some people try to grift off Hotep and there's no consistency, and they just, kind of use and abuse it. But it seemed like it really resonated with him. So then we hit him up, him and Hotep with it, who couldn't make it because he's starting a new job, getting his life going in a great direction. And then, we were like, yo, we got this content creator group, let me know. So we had Tay put together the outro for Cannon, so on and so forth. And so we just want to support everybody that helps. But Cannon, it's great to have him on the team, him and his guns. Thank you, Cannon. Another person near and dear to my heart, Jonesy, up here in the front seat. I was a little, I was like this tall in high school. You know what I'm saying? And one day somebody was messing with me. And I don't remember the story. He actually told me the story. And he said, he stepped like, yo, leave him alone, da, 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 da. So he's always been like big brother, and we had a computer class together, and we had a lot of fun kicking it. I always had jokes and shit like that. But he was always genuine. He was always real. Like, I always make this joke, like when he came through the hallways, like it played Debo music behind him when he came. He was, MOB, master of bigness. That's what they used to call him, But everybody in the school respected him. He was like, he was like the big brother of the school. And everybody respected him. Everybody, a lot of people was on some fuck shit, but he was the only one that would bridge the gap between having fun, cracking jokes, but maintaining the balance of things, You're not going to pick on him because he's got a disability or because he's not cool or whoever it is. He was always protecting people and setting things in place. So he's a great individual. Clap it up for Jonesy, man. To have him here is beautiful for me because I remember he hit me up when I first did the pro-Trump thing. He was like, nigga, what the fuck you doing? What the fuck's going on? You got to explain this shit to me, nigga. And I'm like, yo, it's a long, long, long story. So I guess him watching from a distance and seeing Rogan, and it doesn't take long for people to see the agenda after a few years and see what happens. And, I think it says a lot about somebody's character to admit and say, nah, some fuck shit, you was right. What was going on, B? What's this Hotep Nation shit? Where do I get the hat? You know what I'm saying? What do y'all got going on? Like, I want in. Nah, fuck that. Some shit going down, It was crazy. It's crazy and beautiful to have him in my life because to be honest, I'm surrounded by strangers. Like, nobody in this room knows me. Not even these guys know me, but he's known me since he could tell you a whole bunch of embarrassing stories about me, So nobody really knows me. So to have him here is really it gives me security in my heart. Another person I'd like to mention and honor, a lot of things that happen for Hotep Nation that happens as a brand is the people that co-sign us, people that actually do put the Hotep Nation or the Hotep name in their name and don't remove it. And one of those people is Hotep Virgin Mary. Clap it up for her. Yeah. She has supported us even through the TPUSA debacle, even though she didn't talk to me when I was there. There's a lot of times where she could have said, I'm gonna distance myself from these guys, because whatever the fuck, grift moment could have been. And she's like, nah, she stuck around and believed in us and hung in there. So I really appreciate you. Thank you, Jordan. Clap it up for Jordan, please. Obviously, thank you to Trish. I appreciate you. Trish has been holding us down through everything. I forget what I was going through at the time, but she DM'd me in the Discord chat and had some kind words for me. And that shit really went a long way, just for my own mental health to know that somebody was like, hey, don't worry about it. Yo, we in your corner. We ain't going nowhere. Just like, at least I got this one white woman who care about us. That's beautiful. Another person I'd like to highlight, new in the room, Amber. Clap it up for Amber, y'all. Amber's special to me because she's outside of Jordan, who knows us, she's the only black chick that bought a ticket to this event, you know what I mean? And I was just usually that's a demographic we don't expect to get. So to see her here, I looked at her like, wow, this person has to be special. Like, who is this individual? I really want to get to know her, I found out why she glued in the Hotep Nation. So I appreciate you for coming. Thank you. Clap it up for her. Obviously, we got to honor one more time. Halima, come. Halima, come. Yes. Come. Clap it up.
I did not expect to get the mic. I'm extremely humbled. Las Vegas was not ever on my list for me to show up here. Only Hotep Nation could have brought me to this sin city. And since young, I have imagined that I will travel the world, that wherever I will be is where home is for me. Because I was born in a country where I was clearly gotten aware that I didn't belong there. And so for many people who grew up here, you know, you come from your parents' house, maybe if like things break down, you can go back to your parents' home. There was no going back anywhere, you know, it's what's next. So I first, you know, left to the Emirates, the Middle East, and came here to North America, started in the US, and then moved to Canada. And I've imagined myself always being in the US because like 50 states, I can pick one when I get bored. That was really how I was looking at this place. And from a young age, I've just dreamt and visioned and would dream in front of a mirror and actually play out the future, not realizing that I was manifesting it. And some areas I've gotten very vague in, and I got to see that being vague in thought and desire, you basically take whatever life brings you. So, you know, about 3 or 4 years ago, for some reason I've been drawn to Hoteps, and there was this Hotep man who asked me to come and support him in his jewelry shop once a year at an Afrofest festival. I was your white black person. I don't know. I sound, you know, those people that you say you sound white. I would go to a techno club over a hip hop club. Like I was more comfortable in a white crowd than a black one. And that was because I grew up in a multicultural space. So coming to North America, it was like I can relate more to this culture. So I got present to that, and I injected myself intentionally to go to this once a year festival. And that's when a man came and he said, hey, I wanna, you know, start a directory. And I'm talking about this because I got excited that it's gonna be the directory to help Black community. And I'm still getting to learn the Black community because I was born and raised as an Oromo person. So I was clear about what my language and my ethnic background was. And I recognized there is a disconnect in how, you know, the world views Black as one. However, there is all these different ethnicity and cultural experiences that each people have for themselves. And we actually don't take the time to learn of each other. So, you know, there is no getting along within that. And so I did get caught up in actually for the first time knowing the difference between what being a liberal and a conservative is. Because in Canada, like I thought being liberal was like the cool thing. But however, I would always see the conservatives, like their economic decisions resonated with me. You know, their socialist decisions, not so much. Until in 2016, I sat at Trent University, excited after 12 years of yearning to go back to university. And in this class of human inequalities, this professor who sits on the board of the World Food Program made it so clear how capitalism is the only way to be able to make a difference for others. Except it took me another 4 years to make mistakes and continue to play the Mother Teresa role in helping to build this Black-owned business directory. And I found out how challenging it was to deal with Black community. And it didn't also sit with my core values because I've had always interest in the healthcare field, as in, you know, all of this can break down. When a person is gonna fall and they want someone to help save that life, you know, is being a techie gonna save that person, or is being a lawyer gonna help that person? And that's something that was really amazing that Phil shared about his daughter taking on the nursing stream, and it was the same advice that my father has given me. So I'm really grateful to my parents for them having to teach me to, you know, only read and not have TV at home, not listen to music until Napster came, and I made sure I did. However, long story short, I was so relieved to find Hotep Jesus on Twitter calling on people from the streets to share about what is happening on the grounds, because here I am working in the space of Black media that I'm new to, and I never walked around this world saying that I'm Black. Like, I wasn't checking that box. Like, because it's like, wait, my parents taught me Oromo. Like, I don't understand this. What does Black mean? I've asked this question in university. No one really has an answer. Or they don't even know. Like, the question is a surprise to them. Because it's like, and someone has said that, and recently as well it was canceled, that, Black culture is, Black Americans who have come here and have built the culture for themselves, that, being Black is a culture of its own. And so it was a learning experience for me because I was highly ignorant. Although I thought I knew a lot, it's really, I knew nothing, and I still don't. So I just kind of found a relief in clarity, and I just plugged in, and I got excited about all the work that he was doing. So I just followed through. And one of the things that I have done is, when I wasn't able to go to school, is plug into communities and networks, and I just go and see who's the leader of the group, and all right, how can I get close to you? As I can do little things. I just think that I want to help in masses. And so I plugged myself into Mogul Summit from an email that came where Hotep Jesus said that he was offering mentorship to someone who quit. I was like, that sucks. You got a chance and you dropped it. I'm going to jump in on that. And that's how I joined in. And then I also realized that the core values of the community of Hotep Nation aligns with the struggle that the Oromo people experience in Ethiopia. And I've been always looking at how can we make a difference. And through tech and entrepreneurship is a channel. And so it's a whole lot of talking. 9 months ago, my mother passed away, and during the time, God rest her soul, Allah yarhamha, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be standing here before you, because I would have been deported to Ethiopia and not been able to be with my children. So through that, I continued to plug in, and I've gone also through some leadership programs that helped me to be able to, detach myself in moments to be present and keep going. So someone asked me whether I was related to Hotep Jesus. And, the funny thing is, he has a resemblance of my brother.
I'm definitely East African.
And there is a lineage descent, connection there, I would say. However, I did feel that we are family. And because I've been around people who always just randomly call people family, I generally distinguish it just so my children know in terms of bloodline. However, I have to say, this is family for me. I'm very grateful to meet each and every one of you, and you have all taken me in as one of you. And they say the best speech is the one that wasn't delivered. So I'm kind of lost a little about, the kindness and the gratitude that have been poured into me. I always bring it back to the prayers that my mother has had, because she's always said, may God keep, bring people in your life that they're mothers for you. And it's just been so amazing that people have opened doors for me wherever I have gone. And I don't take that lightly. And I'm grateful that I'm in the space now to learn from all the experiences that I've had and to be able to take that to the next level. And thanks to the mentorship and support that I get, that I'm able to hone down my focus. And I consider myself a rising phoenix, because there are people that are out there waiting that I'm a hero for in their lives. And I'm able to do that because I'm surrounded by heroes who are here to transform other people's lives. So I couldn't ask I couldn't be in a better place than this. I thank you so much. The intention is far greater than the monetary value that stands in my hand right now. And
we love you, Lima.
I love you guys.
Give me this mic before you make me cry, damn it. Give me this damn mic, man. You about to have me up in here tearing up and shit. God damn it. I love you, Lima. Thank you. I got 2 more honorees, and I'm gonna let y'all get out these chairs and do whatever it is y'all have to do today. Shout out to Taylor. Taylor, I can't thank you enough, man. You know, a lot of people say, going back to the whole black and white thing, I say, if we had to depend on black people, Hotep Nation would not be built. It would not be built. It'd be a Hotep village. Hotep street. You know, Tay, I mean, I can't thank you enough, man. You like, and I always tell people like, you know, you know, we probably would have went out and said, hey, you know, I asked Uncle, we had $10K in the bank. I asked Uncle Hotep, you know, I asked the group, what would you guys do with the money? He said, I'd shoot a documentary. And I didn't I was like, all right, let's do that, you know. But we were looking at it like, it's a big spend, you know. And you know, whatever. And then here Taylor comes along, he's watching the Hotep's Been Told You, hits me up, and he's like, hey, I heard you guys say something about an award show. You know that's possible, right? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know this shit. And he starts showing me like assets, and we had a couple of meetings, and next thing you know, we had the Grifties. Then the Grifties come out, and I get a call from Doe, and he's like, hey, yo, what the fuck? Yo, y'all had an award show, y'all ain't include me? I'm the president of the company. What the fuck's going on? But he loved the show.
Dead ass, like dead ass. I was hot. I was hot.
He was hot, you know? But I was trying to tell him, like, you know, like a lot of times we just move, like me and Uncle Ted, like whoever is involved in the project, we just move, we just make it happen. And sometimes I forget to include people because I'm so like laser focused. But Taylor came through and he made that project successful from top to bottom. I can't wait to do next year. He's here now. Like we got state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art skills, recording this event that just wouldn't have been possible. So, you know, one more time, clap it up to Taylor, man. One last honoree. This is the honoree of all honorees. I mean, when I first ran into this guy, I was like, he's got to be a Fed. It was two people a part of this group that were Feds. One of them was Chad. Obviously, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely FBI. I didn't think he was CIA. He wasn't. You know, CIA usually they go for like the young guys and shit like that. I was like, he's definitely FBI. But there's another guy that's like just kept fucking consistently helping out, and I'm always like, when I see people helping, I'm like, what the fuck you up to? Why are you helping? I didn't ask you to do that. You keep doing that, and I'm just watching. I'm like, he's still helping. He's still showing up. The fuck, he's ubiquitous. It's every time we do something, he's showing up and he's helping. Just like, damn, like, this is fucking amazing. Love this guy. And then we were having troubles with the Hotep Nation Weekend. He like, I got a hotel. I'm like, word? All right. You know, I get a lot of credit. I get way too much credit for building Hotep Nation. I think the only credit I should get is I just have a good sense of character and choosing, you know, right people to work with. But Hotep Nation was built by all of us, like all these individuals doing their thing, but Brody, creator of the Hotep and Build mantra. Clap it up for Brody one time. You definitely got to come up and touch the mic, and you definitely got to come up and touch the mic. But Brody has been huge in our development, just huge in support. He shows up at the Mogul Summit like all the time, and he doesn't have to. He shows up at Shaka Akmos, you know, classes on Fridays. He's just like always there supporting. It's just like, damn, it's like God like really believes in this. And like we're here in Vegas in this beautiful space, and you know, at the price we paid, like you're not getting what we got on the budget we got, and he really made it happen. Brody, come on, man, come on up here, man. I want you to explain to them why the fuck you felt like you should be a part of this and help us, man.
What's the name of the
I learned my blackness from Candace Owens. So I was in a hotel in Chile, and I just joined Twitter like 2 years ago. I think it's been 2 years now. And I think Ann Coulter was the first person I followed on there, and then some people from Fox News. You know, I didn't know what Twitter was really. And then after about 2 weeks or so, then I found you on the TL somewhere, and then and Shaka Shakur, who was here last night, right? I found him, and I knew he was from Vegas just by one thing he said in a tweet about Westside, and I was like, oh, he's got to be from Vegas. So then I hit him up, but I've learned from my parents and just growing up here in the city. You know, you always just shut your mouth and just look and just read people, because I was like, is this stuff real? Are these people real? All these people on Twitter. I was like, just such bullshit. Like, people aren't like this that I know. And black people I know aren't like that. You know, this Twitter shit is crazy, right? And I was like, the people I know are all freaking builders, and the people I was growing up with all my life, I just have a different perspective, you know? And then I was trying to figure out the trolling, like, is it real? And I was like, oh, these are my people, man, right? And, you know, I never heard the N-word growing up in my house. My dad was a coach here in the city, basketball, football, and baseball. I was raised in the locker room. So I was always around just different people, right, all my life. And then, so anyways, I don't know why I said that, but I just never heard that.
You're trying to say you had black friends.
Black friends. Put down with the coach.
I can't erase my black friends.
You get what I'm
I
saying?
can't erase
Majority of the
But
teams.
what I'm saying is I'm comfortable. You're my people, right? I'm comfortable. Like when this is my brother. Like it would be like I see Chad, right? There's no difference for me. Like I think we all can be gods and goddesses, right? No matter the color of our skin. And so, and there's something beyond that, and that's why I can say, yeah, I love my brother, right? I have a little bit different belief system in God and Jesus Christ and all that stuff. But that's what's so beautiful about Hotep, is you can pray to Allah, or you can, pray to Heavenly Father, whatever. And we still respect that, right? We still build. And anyway, so I just started messing around with him on Twitter, and then, he liked a couple of the tweets, and then I remember this one tweet he put out about the NFL. He said, if anybody retweets or replies to this NFL tweet about football, you're getting blocked immediately. So there were some people I was messing with, and I had some funny stuff to say, and I was like, oh, he ain't gonna block this. And before I tweeted it, I just seen him block somebody else, so I was like, block. Some people I knew on Twitter too, they're like, oh, why did he block me? What I said was legitimate, And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I was like, yeah, you know what? All right, I like where his head's at, right? So I didn't reply, and I didn't get blocked.
Thank God.
And then maybe,
You guys start going back through the block.
Hey, but it's real, because I see, I was like, no, I can reply to that. So you got to be able to read the room, right? And then, but anyway.
You got an appeal process like Twitter itself. You got
recommendations. There's people with Hotep in their name. Yeah, he blocked me like a year ago. Like, will you DM him for me?
Full reference.
But anyways, so one day I ordered some gear. I was like, yeah, I've been Hotep my whole life. That's what I was saying about my dad. Like we just always moved that way, Like he can go into the gym right here. I remember when I was a little kid, he walked into Dula Gym down here in the West Side, and it was all black people. It was like, and then my dad, and it was me, and I was like this big, and he's just walking through like it was nothing, right? They're like, Coach Mac, Mad Dog, and he's like, yeah, come on, you're good with me, Brody. Let's just come in, because I was a little. But anyways, I just remember those experiences in my life where there was never any judgment or prejudice from my father, right? So that's how I always moved. But then anyways, then I remember I got some gear, some Hotep gear, because I was like, yeah, I consider myself Hotep. I'm not putting in my name. My name's Brody McFarland. Like, that's the name my dad gave me. That's what I'm rolling with. And I'm putting it out there. Like, people know me, where I work, whatever, right? And then I remember I tweeted something. I got up early in the morning. Had said some prayers, and it was just the crack of dawn, right, coming up. And I had my Hotep hat right on the dashboard. And I was like, yeah, this is when I'm getting up to work. I think I was going away for a while. I was like, I'm feeding my family. I'm building my family up. And that's what a patriarch is supposed to do. And I made a tweet about patriarch. And then he followed me after that. And I remember that. And then, but it was just like, I wasn't on his fruits or nothing, like, oh, he's a Hotep. No, it was just like, it was just a mutual respect kind of thing. And I had a similar incidents afterwards with Doe. he put out a tweet that said, cake. And I'd been successful in my life. I could go on a long story, but then I'd fell hard too, you know, and then I never invested in stocks, and then I kept reading what they were doing, and the stuff they would tweet about, I could hear from a Wall Street guy, but I wouldn't do that. I was like, well, these are my people, and I trust what they're telling me is right? So when he tweeted, I was like, well, then it's good. I'm gonna buy it, because I just know. And I never met Doe, but I just know, or Brian, I just knew him from, or Hotep Jesus, I just knew him from the circles that we were in Twitter, right? But there's a special group and a feeling within our little men of order sphere that we have that you just know, right? So anyways, I bought some stock and helped my son, and he came up and he got a car off his stock tip. And so then I just started rocking a little bit more. And then Unc, who's everyone's favorite Hotep, right? You just love him just because of who he is, just a real good person, human being, right? And all of us. And then I got to start messing with Jonesy. And then the Mogul Summit, you know, I had a lot of experiences, and I just wanted to join and support you, you know, because I was like, man, this has helped me build up from where I was before. And then I just started getting more motivated. And I was like, man, there are other people that think like me out there. Because sometimes you move and you're like, nah, you just got to keep the blinders on. These people don't move like me, or they don't think like me. But on Twitter, I actually found this group, right? And then just started getting more motivated. And then my path has kind of been, you know, led me to where we are today, right? So, but anyway, that's why I started messing with you guys, and Hotep and Build just came out of what is Hotep to me, you know, and building my belief system, which is a Christian belief system, but I don't judge you for sinning differently, or don't judge me because I sin differently than you, is kind of how I feel, right? So whether you're Muslim or Catholic or non-believer or whatever it is, I don't care if you're still trying to be a better person. You have all this good to offer. Let's work with and build it together and try to be better. Like everything that I got that's good, Brian can help me be better and chat, you know what I mean? So that's what Hotep was for me. It was peace, building myself up, and getting my money right, and then we got to help everyone else get their money, because that's the only way we're going to be able to battle everybody, right? And battle this huge thing that's fighting us. You seen last night kind of how it was with this group. You know, we don't really mess with some politicians and stuff, but he's out here supporting one of the Hoteps, and he knew it was a Hotep, which was Patriot J. You know, he claims us, and so I was like, hey, you got to give this guy love and build that up, right? So anyways, that's kind of, I'm just happy to do it. I really do enjoy like everyone's success, right? Like,
I flew to Miami to meet me. It was my first time in Miami 2 months ago, and all I've met him is on Zoom Saturday after Saturday for the last year.
So that's what Hotep is to me, you know. It's all encompassing and all believing in ourselves, that we can just get to another level. And then when you get to that level, you can get to another level. My brother you guys might have met him here. He always says, Brody, you know, how much can you do? How much did you do yesterday? And I was like, this much. He's like, or did you do this much? You're like, this much. And he's like, well, stretch your arms out. Is that really all you can do? And you're like, I can stretch them out. It's this much. He's like, no, stretch. How much can you do? And if you start stretching, you just keep reaching it, and that always sticks with me. Like, we can always get to that next level, but it can't be on our own, right? And we all got to build together. So anyways, Hotep and Bill, and I love you guys. I appreciate coming out and enjoying this weekend with me and getting to know you all. And we're all just keep it moving, right? We just got to keep it moving, cuz.
Get your hands out your pockets, cuz.
Get your hands out your pockets, cuz.
Yo, Brody's a real one. Brody reminded me of something about Hotep Nation that differentiates us from other quote-unquote Hoteps. They're very, like a Puritan, like, you know, Moors are like, oh, you know, we're Moors, and if you ain't like this, then it's fuck you. And the Hebrew Israelites, you know, if you don't believe this, then it's fuck you.
Grand Rising Queen.
Yeah, and we're like, we don't care who you believe in or what your religion is, and shit, I want all y'all gods. You got a God, you got a new religion, I want to pray to him too, you know? We were very, and then also, like, in the beginning, I was like Hitler with the diet shit. Like, you eat fried chicken, you can't join the Hotep Nation. So we only had 2 members for a little while.
Yeah, eating chicken and buying Nike was like the anti-Hotep. You can't do that.
Yeah, so, you know,
Put
it
some
was
shacks
like,
on your feet, eat some fish.
yeah. But you got to meet people where they are. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, and if, you know, you got somebody who's a cigarette drinking, you know, cigarette drinking.
They drinking cigarettes.
You know, the diet not right.
Nah, you are not allowed. I'm sorry.
You know, we're all flawed. Nobody was ever perfect. You know, it took me a while to become Ali Shakur and all that stuff, you know? So, you know, it was just like, you know, like people used to come to us. Like, I remember one time, you know, I'm not gonna mention who it was, but she was like, I can't be a Hotep. I was like, why? She was like, because I be thirst trapping on the timeline. And I'm like, well, let me send you a Hotep Nation shirt then. You know, like, we got to stop judging people based upon like all this like Puritan shit, you know, and I really just want to be a loose organization and, you know, and really focus on what it is that's going to make the world a better place, and that's creation. Fuck what you eat, and then we can fix that. You know, we can get your diet right. Fuck what you know, all that shit. What did you create today? What did you create this week? What did you create this month? And let's start from there. If you're not becoming a god, AKA a creator, then, you know, you haven't started that Hotep journey. But that's the start of the Hotep journey, the diet and the God you believe in and, you know, whatever, you know, all that shit's arbitrary compared to building. But after this, what we're going to do is we're going to get with Tay. We're going to shoot some documentary shit with Tay. I want a lot of y'all to be a part of that. Very simply, he's going to ask you, what does Hotep mean to you? And you can just answer that question in your own words. What's up, Tay?
That'll be after dinner for everyone.
After dinner? So that's tonight.
After dinner. So after dinner, I'm going to ask you guys, quick, how was the weekend?
Yeah.
What Hotep mean to you? How long you been following? Real quick and easy. We're going to do it on that background over by the chairs.
Out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, take some time to think about that. Get your spiel together. So when we do that later, it's going to be dope. We're going to have a great dinner tonight. I can't wait to see you guys at dinner. But right now, I think we're going to go shoot us now, right, Tay?
Yeah, interviews.
Awesome. Yeah. One time, just clap it up for yourselves, please. Please. Thank you. Like I said before, you know, we could have tried to pack this room out and bring all these people here, but the people that are here, y'all not customers. You guys are family. If you bought that ticket off of, you know, like us not even like really, you just played the fucking commercial during the show and it's like whoever fucking shows up, shows up. But if you show up, that means you really fuck with us. And those are the people we want to build with. So, I thank you for coming out and hanging with us. Is today Saturday? Yeah, we got in it like 2 hours ago. So I'm all screwed up. But this is our last night together. So feel free to enjoy the city and I'll see y'all at dinner. Thank you very much.